We got a special guest, Purdue legend, two-time Super Bowl champion, 11-year NFL veteran. Honor to have him on the show. Our main man, Rob Ninkovich. Nink, joining in. Nick, what up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on?
What up? What up? You know, just getting a little lift in, trying to make sure I don't look like a melted candle. You know how that goes.
Nico,
Hey.
You son of a bitch. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing good.
Hey.
Just
Matt wanted to see you. He hasn't seen you since you guys were Dolphins together, so he had to say hi.
yeah.
What's
Hey,
up, bud?
we go way back. 07. That's a long time ago.
Oh yeah, dog. Hey, well,
Hey,
you enjoy the show today with these two ugly fucks, and I'll be reaching out soon.
Yeah, please do that. We get to talk about all the soft ass football players these days.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
No doubt. All right, Matt, thanks. I'll talk to you.
Better,
Friday.
Nick.
All right, then, Matt. Nice
Hey,
to meet
Nick,
you, Rob. And nice to meet you, my
there
guy.
you go. We're good. That's Big Smitty, Nick. Appreciate you jumping on. Man, we got to ask you right out the gate, man. We're going to talk about the soft shit here in a second. I love that. I love your takes on social media. Your overall thoughts right out the gate on Braves getting the job there at your former stomping grounds where you won 2 titles under a legend in Bill Belichick. Where you at with Vrabel taking that job?
Well, I think he was the best option for the organization. Look, they're trying to get back to their old winning ways. They're trying to get back to winning the Super Bowls. I think it was probably not probably. It was 100% not a fair shake for Mayo. Mayo's a good teammate of mine. I don't think he had the fair opportunity to be a coach there. So I think that the judgment on him isn't accurate as far as what he was able to do in 1 year. He was there 11 months. They didn't spend any money in free agency. I would have potentially been interested in coaching, but there wasn't the ability to bring in a certain staff, there. So I just think it was, a problem that, Mayo wasn't able to get his first year under his belt in a successful way, but I don't think he had the best opportunity to do that. And now, Vrabel, it's almost like they had Belichick. His ways were, we all know Bill Belichick is a no mess around guy, right? He's business all the time. You talk about, being soft. If you're soft around him, you're not even going to play a snap for him. So, then they were trying to go into this new age. Okay, we're closer to the players. Mayo is close to the players, more of a players coach, and then they go right back to try and be, similar to what Bill was with Vrabel, because Vrabel he's not a guy that's gonna mess around, right? Like Vrabel's gonna come in, and he's gonna be pretty similar to Bill, I think. And now I've never been coached by him, but I could just tell by his mannerisms and the way he speaks, he don't mess around. I think for the Patriots, and you look at the whole coaching, the whole spectrum, every single team right now, I think the Patriots got the best guy that was available.
So let me ask you this, man, kind of staying in the coaching world, but switching to college real quick. Your guy, Bill Belichick, obviously the new head coach of North Carolina. I guess, number one, how shocking or surprised were you when you saw the news? And then number two, how good do you think, he'll be at the college level?
I thought it was just like he was doing kind of like prep before he got a job in the NFL. I'll go on a couple interviews just to get a little interview experience again, and then I'll go into the NFL with all these openings.
Right.
If you look at it, I mean, you think the Jacksonville Jaguars are better off with who they just hired? Duval, like, come on, like, Coach knows this, right? When you stand in front of 90 dudes, most of these dudes, they're from Texas, Florida, Louisiana. They're from the streets, right? You got a guy standing in front of you. You're like, look at this nerd. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have a little presence. And now he might, I don't know, but just when you get, as a player, you have a tendency to listen to a coach for a couple minutes, and you could kind of tell what is his style, and a lot of offensive coaches, they have a certain style to them that they're great at X's and O's. They're great at tic-tac-toe, but when it comes to leading a whole team, I think we saw kind of that issue in Miami where you got a great offensive, smart-minded coach, but guys are late. You can't control the team. You can't, get guys to buy into what you're trying to sell. And at the end of the day, when you look at Vrabel, he stands at the podium and you kind of like, okay, like, let me listen to this guy. He played at a high level. He won Super Bowls. He ain't messing around. He'll call you out, and now I don't know if the new player is attracted or can, be coached that way, because they're very emotional and they're not, they don't take criticism well. But I was coached, every single coach of mine, let me think, Bob McDougall, Joliet Junior College, Joe Tiller, Purdue, Shaun Payton. Then I went with Tony Sperano, who was a Parcells disciple. Parcells was the president. Then I went to Bill Belichick. So you got to think, like, every single one of my coaches were like, Bob McDougall, guy broke his tib, broke his leg in half. He's like, just move it up 10 yards. You're like, damn, coach, like, this dude's leg's sideways. He didn't care, So I just think you look at the whole coaching carousel, and I'm going to get back to Bill. If you're a professional football team and you have Bill Belichick available, I would have gone after him with everything I got, considering you look at what's available and what these teams have hired. They're not taking a step forward. They're either going to be the same or be worse.
Let me ask you, Rob, do you think the NFL has malcontent or pissed off, or are they blackballing Bill in a way so he doesn't get his 15 wins or 17 wins to break Shula's record? Like, why? It blows my mind that you got a guy sitting out here, and especially now that 73-year-old Pete Carroll is back. Right. I'm confused. Belichick's waiting on 15 or 17 wins to break the all-time record, and you're keeping him out. I don't know. You think there's something to that or no?
I don't know at the end of the day why some teams do what they do, or ownership do. They continue to do the same things over and over again. Like, look at, and I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in Joliet. So the Chicago Bears, for example, besides that one year where they had, Kyle Orton and Rex Grossman and a great defense, they've always kind of been middle of the road. All my friends are like, I think the Bears are going to do it this year. I'm like, dude, they're going to be 8-9 or worse. That's just what they're going to do every year. And then you look at, like, the Browns. Like, what's holding the Browns back? They make terrible decisions, and they pay a quarterback who's, a weirdo and likes to be on massage tables, but gave him a fully guaranteed money. You put yourself in a position that you're not going to win, right? So if you are an owner and you're like, okay, we're not doing the right things here, we don't have the right leadership, and you don't look at Bill Belichick, I think that you don't have your mind on the right philosophies to win. Most coaches or most owners, like, they're always going to make money with this league sharing and TV rights and all this stuff. Like, they're making $700 to $1 billion a year, no matter what, like, even if they lose. And then you bought the league, and if you bought in the 90s or the early 2000s, you've made like 10x on your money. So, I think there's a reason why certain organizations are always kind of in the hunt, because they're run well and they got the right coaches in place, and you get the right players that buy into the coaching, similar to what Kansas City's been able to do, right? Like, they're very similar to the Patriots. They had a great quarterback, they had great coaching, and they had great buy-in by the players, which they have the belief that it's not just you that's doing everything. It's a collection of the guys that are doing the right things, in the right moments, and then that's when you always seem to win. It's like when the Patriots are winning, like, damn, how come the Patriots pull out these games when they should lose? It's like, because guess what? We make the plays that need to be made when the time is right and the game's on the line. So that's it. At the end of the day, if you want to win in the NFL, you got to make the plays when they present themselves.
No doubt. Shout out to Joliet, man. The Wolves. A good friend of mine was the head coach there, Gary Thomas, before he went to Dodge City, probably prior to you. But Joliet, man, another JUCO out in Illinois, national JUCO scale. Let me ask you something, Nico. Nick. Where can you, if I asked you, everybody wants to know, was it Tom Brady's way or Bill Belichick's way? What do you say?
Dude, I can't, and then I go back to when I talk about everyone working in the right direction and everyone kind of doing the right thing. I don't think Tom has the career that he has without Bill, and I don't think Bill has the career that he has without Tom. It was a combination of, a great coach can push a player dependent on their personality. So if you got a guy that needs to be, insulted, like for me, for example, this is just an example of what I am. Say Matty P would be like, damn, Rob, you just must not be good enough. Maybe that's why you had to go to JUCO. Maybe that's why you weren't a starter at Purdue. And now in the moment, I'm wanting to, rip his head off. But I'll say, all right, you want to fucking talk like that to me? I'm going to show you that I am good enough to play at a high level, and I am good enough to be this and that. So you do that to another player, they might go down, they might tank, they might just start to beat themselves up and think, well, maybe he's right, maybe I'm not good enough. And I think that Bill has the ability to almost like psychologically evaluate every player and say, okay, this guy needs to be maybe a little bit more boosted up, this guy needs to be kind of talked down on, this guy needs to be yelled at a certain way or not. And, we would be in meetings, and I remember Bill would just go right after Tom and be like, well, we got a so-called great quarterback, and we can't even take a snap from center. Give me a break, and Tom's just sitting up there, and we're like, and he's in his 20th year, right? And you're like, dang, like there is no, and that's what makes that's what makes a great team and a great coach and a great staff. You can't be afraid to go after a player. If you ever start to think, well, he's above me correcting or above me motivating or going after, then it's not the right relationship. You got to have a relationship where it's like you're trying to get the best out of me and I'm trying to provide the best football, play for you. And then there's that, it's like mutual respect to where, you could get pissed off. And you could say, like, here, you think you can do it better? And then you get in that pissed off, like, mindset, but then you go out there and you perform.
Yeah. Before Smitty dives in, Smitty, I just had to piggyback off that right there. Like, isn't that the new nature of the beast now? Like, isn't there, like, to me, this generation lacks hierarchy. They have no clue for it. That's why you see the crime in the society. You see fucking, we don't discipline you if you do steal. And all the shit's changed. I think it all goes into hierarchy. You have to have some semblance of hierarchy regardless of what your salary is. Belichick didn't make as much as fucking Tom Brady, but guess what? He didn't care. You're a player, I'm coach. That's just the pecking order. There's owner, there's CEO, there's GM, there's coach, there's player. Now the player thinks they're fucking equals, and we have a problem. We have a bad league. Like, not a bad league, but it's like, to me, the product is not what it was when you played.
So this is what I was trying to say. I think when Stephen A. was talking about Mahomes and three-peating and all that stuff, the league has regressed when it comes to technique. Like an offensive lineman set and their use of hands. And, dude, back in the day when I got drafted, I was going against, like, men. I'm talking John Stinchcomb, dude that's like 34 years old, like 2 steps, and he was taught to punch your face off. Like, I'm going to punch you through your face. And if you're in the way of my hands, you're gonna get knocked out, right? And they used to put casts on their wrists. And now these offensive linemen, they're just like grabbing and they're not punching through people. They're doing the underhook stuff or they're trying to grab your belly. So the league has softened to where I think the statistics are easier to attain because you have all these rules. 10 years ago, dude, when I got in the league, if you threw a slant route across the middle, like we were taught to take your head off. Like we were taught to make you go to sleep. That's not the mentality anymore. So now you throw it across the middle with no regard for getting your player hurt. Right. I mean,
and hit the fucking QB at the same time.
That's and the quarterback, you could drop weight. We used to say make sure we drop weight on them. Like when you get there, make sure they feel you, right? So when you would take them, you would scoop them up and try to put
make sure,
yes, you're trying to crunch your rib cage. Yeah. My mentality wasn't I'm trying to break his ribs, but I'm just like, dude, I want to make sure by the end of this game he's not throwing
hurt a little bit. It's football.
Yes. Like
Smitty's from Naptown. He played at Ball State, but he played D tackle, so he was and he's young. He's younger than us, but he played with that.
I'm 31, so I still kind of in the mix, but I get it.
I think now, and then another issue that we're coming across. and you talk about the hierarchy. When I came in and got drafted in 2006, if you were a first round pick, it didn't matter. When you walked into the building, you knew I got to pay my dues. So what does that mean? I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go hit a 4-man wedge. Like when I was a rookie,
Yeah.
we were playing the Dallas Cowboys in the preseason, and my rookie year, our training camp was in Jackson, Mississippi. At Millsaps College on turf.
Ooh.
Yes, because that was right after Katrina. They didn't have a facility. They had the FEMA was in the facility, and the Superdome wasn't ready to go yet.
Yep.
So we were in Millsaps College. We reported in Jackson, Mississippi. It was about 115 with no breeze. It was just stagnant air. So we're playing the Dallas Cowboys, and they would at that time put 4 of the biggest backup linemen together, link arms, and run a track. And if the ball, like I used to have it was a triangle. I was the R3, L3. If my tackle went in, I hit the middle of the wedge. If my tackle went out, it was returned towards me, I went out. So it's a completely, and you knew coming in, like I didn't play any special teams at Purdue. Like I was a DN, I was a pass rusher, right?
Right.
But when you got to the league, you're like, all right, I gotta just run down on kickoff. I gotta be on kickoff return. I was the wedge, so I'm hitting the wedge and the wedge for my first year. And just, like, okay, until I get myself in a position to be a starter or play on defense, I'm gonna have I was on punt team till I was in my 11th year in the league. And Bill, I would go up to Bill, be like, Bill, man, like I'm playing every snap on defense. I'm at like 1,100 snaps a season. Can I get off a guard on punt? He's like, well, I mean, geez, Rob, you want us to give up a block punt? And I'm like, no. I'd be like, no, I don't.
He's like, no, I guess not, coach.
I guess not. And then and he'd be like, well, then get your ass out there and pick up the loops and the twists. And I'm like, okay, I got you. And then
he kill you with kindness, didn't he? Hey, let me ask you, like, how many coaches told you on that specific drill? Because I remember I was just OTAs with the Chiefs back in 2000. I'm watching this and I'm like, I've heard coaches tell players like the Ninks of the world, hey, go get a concussion. Like literally.
Here, see, this is me though. I was a very savvy avoider in certain instances, like at Purdue and in college. We were a pass. The only reason I went to Purdue was because they had smaller defensive ends that were known for movement, and we were like a see-ball, get-ball team. If there was a pulling guard, they wouldn't. Brock Spack was my D coordinator. He'd be like, get in that thing, but you don't have to like take 1-for-1. Get in there and get up the field and try and make the play. So when we would have like backside guard pulls or fullback pulls, like coming to kick me out, I would like avoid people, get under it, get up, make a play, make the tackle, TFL. So when I got to the league, John Bonamigo was the special teams coordinator. And he was, he was like, 5'8", but a hard-O, like, get down there, hit somebody, hit the wedge. And I remember my first time running down, I was like, I ain't knocking myself out for this shit. Like, I'm trying to get to the quarterback. My skill set is a pass rusher and a defensive end linebacker. I am not a special teams guy. Right. But I knew I had to do it. So, I would run down there and I would dip and try and like rip the wedge. Yeah. So I wasn't going 1-for-1 and kicking, like bong, hitting myself in the head. So I think that was the smart thing to do, but maybe that's why they didn't keep me on kickoff. But,
Hey, Nick, let me ask you, like the details. I know Belichick's huge on him, and I have Lombo on the show a few times a year, and now he's with Bill up there. I know he was probably with you guys in New England, Lombardi. But let me ask you, let's say you do dip a rip on defense and you give up a little bit of gap integrity to avoid something and somebody misses something. Was Belichick on your ass because you went the easy way?
My mentality had to completely change with Bill because Bill, it was a 2-gap. He was always a 2-gap type 3-4 defense style. So there were moments where I was a defensive end, and then there were moments where I was a linebacker, and then there's a moment like we might go, base. We might go nickel, dime, rabbits, and in all those 4 different packages, I'm the left end, or I'm the left backer, or I'm the buck in the odd fronts. So I'm calling the games. All those little things that really help you understand just scheme. And I try to give guys the understanding of defensively. When I watch these games and I watch some of these idiots try to call defense, we do what we do mentality is the dumbest thing in the world, right? Like you have to be able to game plan according to what teams like to do. And if you
Right.
can do that, that's why when I got to New England, I had to learn how to take on blockers. Before I was a one gap guy. When I got to New England, Bill was like, "We're not 1-for-1 here. If I hear you say 1-for-1, you ain't playing for me. We are a 2-gap slow play. Okay, if you got the C gap, you are going to slow play it. You are going to make the play either bounce, a radical, drastic cut bounce, which helps guys get to the ball, and then you're either 2-3 yard loss or no gain, or you're going to make the play. So I learned how to play the defense through the way Bill wanted the defensive scheme, and every single offensive play tells the story. Every single lineman can give away his responsibility. And I would come to the line of scrimmage, and it took me years to learn this. Come to the line of scrimmage, and every single position has a different viewpoint. If you're an inside linebacker, it's way different because you're off the ball. You got a little bit of time. There's some guys like Hightower. He can do it. He was a hell of an athlete, but he was better off the ball because he could slow play things. He could tempo the ball. He knew how to rock back. He knew how to take double teams on and take them off. And then when you get to the line of scrimmage, you have like an instant, okay, is it run pass? I got to get out. If it's run, I got to go and set the edge. So I try to tell everybody, like, listen, if you get to the line of scrimmage and you see a nasty split, or you see a wide split, or everything 2x2, 3x1, teacup, where's the back at? Is he wide? Is he tight?
Yep.
For example, okay, the Chiefs, they're trying to run the clock out, right? They come out in a 2x2 formation, and two guys move and they swap the formation, and the back is far. The inside linebacker has that guy.
Yep.
They're just trying to pick the inside linebacker. So in our defense, and the way we would communicate, Hightower or Mayo or Jamie Collins would say, Nico, hey, alert the back on the wide. If I was the D end, I would just stand up and say, all right, I got it. If he flashes across, I'll just take him to the flat. It's a dead play. The linebacker will just add in as a rusher or a mirror guy. A lot of defenses, the players are so locked into just what they do. I'm just a pass rusher. I'm just a D lineman. A lot of these kids don't even know what cover 2, cover 3 is. They don't even realize what route concepts are. So that's why Bill was so great. He would make you understand concepts. So, okay, I near, alert power. Oh, the backside guard looks like he's light. He's probably going to pull and try and kick me out. Oh, backside Y off. That tight end is looking at me. I guarantee it's a flash. I'm gonna go hit the flash and make the play before they even know it hit him.